Hey everybody, Matthew here from MiniWarGaming.com, and welcome to Storytime Part 3 of the Battle for Minaria Prime Tau and Orc narrative campaign. Now, as always, if you haven't watched the previous episodes, there will be major spoilers here, so I suggest that you go back and do that now and watch them in order, as I am going to be recapping slightly what happened in the last two missions, as well as setting the stage for Mission 3A and 3B, which are in the links in the video description below. 3A being free, 3B, of course, being in the vault. If you're not a Vault member, you can still click it, get a free 7-day trial, and try out the Vault and get access to all the thousands of videos that are in there. So far, the campaign is going poorly for the Tau. Ethereal Auncor's assault on Ironspitta's factory failed, and Auncor was either killed or captured, which essentially means it's the same thing in the long run. Chazelle Kesto's attempted Montka on the Klawslasha didn't fare well either. While he was successful in killing many of Klawslasha's lieutenants, in the end he fell to the Great Orc's Power Claw. The rest of the Tau survivors retreated back to their defensive positions, now with having lost a couple more very important leaders. To make matters even worse, both Big Mech Ironspitta and War Boss Klawslasha saw that the greater threat to the continuation of the war was not really each other, at least not yet, but actually the Tau's attempts to continually assassinate their leadership. With this in mind, Ironspitta sent an envoy to Klawslasha suggesting a temporary alliance while they removed the Tau annoyance, after which they could settle their differences in true Orc style. Klawslasha readily agreed to this because he was really enjoying the challenge that the Tau were giving him and his boys, and relished the thought of taking even bigger guns to the fight. Killing Ironspitta could wait, and in reality he wasn't even worried about the Big Mech, as he thought himself the definite choice as Grubfang's successor. However, Klawslasha was having more and more trouble maintaining order. More orcs were challenging his rule, and he had to bash more and more heads together to kind of maintain that order. He didn't really mind doing this, he just didn't have the time to do it, and with a Tau threat right there, it's just something that he had to take care of first. And of course, what he didn't actually know was Ironspitta was still considering him a bigger threat than the Tau, and that this was all a ploy, a cunning ploy, to remove Klawslasha from the campaign for becoming the next war boss. He had already assumedly tested the Tau in battle and found them lacking, and even had managed to capture their ethereal, which he could use to his advantage later. His alliance with Klawslasha was merely a ruse to expose him at a key moment and use the Tau to actually help kill his rival. Once Klawslasha was dealt with, the Tau would be next, easy to clean up, and then they clearly could continue with their war, loot the entire world, and push on to bigger and better fights, whether it's against the Tau or anybody else. It was with this intent to double-cross Klawslasha that Ironspitta suggested a brilliantly cunning plan in which they would basically assault a Tau defensive position. There was a defensive position that they had to overrun in order to be able to assault the Tau main forces. And this Tau outpost was situated right above a series and network of tunnels and underground structures that was left there from the Imperium. And in these structures there was large dumps of munitions, as well as some geothermal power generators. The plan that Ironspitta suggested involving him taking a crack force underground to literally undermine the Tau outpost by finding access points that he could use to send his Ludas, Burnas, and Commandos up through to hit the Tau from right underneath their hooved feet. While he led this attack, Klawslasha would take his Thunderbolts and lead a frontal assault, distracting the Tau from this objective. So Thunderbolts would hit from there, the Toof Bringas would hit from underneath, and that should pincer and destroy the outpost without much problem. Klawslasha, of course, liked the sound of this because he wanted to lead a frontal charge to attack these Tau, but at the same time he didn't want them to just set up a big gun line that would just really not put up a good fight. So by having Ironspitta's forces come up and disrupting their lines, he would be able to ensure a much better fight with the Tau. What Ironspitta didn't tell Klawslasha was that his plan wasn't just to infiltrate the outpost, but to actually blow it up from underground. And what he wanted to do is he would set charges on key munition piles and generators, and then just detonate them once Klawslasha was leading his assault. And what he hoped to achieve by this was not only destroying the Tau outpost, but also to kill Klawslasha right in the middle of it, once again showing that his cunning earned him the leadership of the Great Orc Wog. The plan was set in motion. Klawslasha took as many Orc boys, trucks, bikes, Defcopters, anything else that was fast enough, and then he could muster and headed towards the outpost. Meanwhile, Ironspitta brought his forces underground. Ironspitta's forces were actually surprised to find that the Tau had fortified the tunnels and structures underground. It was much more work than he had hoped for to get his troops in position, as he had to cut down many Tau defensive positions and capture and kill as many of their Pathfinders as possible. The Tau were more resilient than he thought and didn't fall easily. killing many of the orcs in the process. By the time Ironspitta finally made it to the target area underneath the part of the Tau outpost that Klawslasha would personally be assaulting, his forces were a bit scattered and disorganized. Thankfully, he still had plenty of mechs with their demo charges ready to complete their tasks, and even had a small squad of Mega Knobs ready to bully their way through any further Tau resistance. The reason that the Tau had put up such a good fight was because of their leader, Kadra Fireblade Shaznel Noriath, who upon hearing about the orc forces underground personally led his fire warriors into combat, bolstering the Tau defenses. As war boss Klawslasha hurled himself at the Tau defenders above ground, Big Mech Ironspitta and his forces fought against Shaznel Noriath and his defenders below ground. And that will be our Mission 3A and 3B. Mission 3B, and they'll actually happen simultaneous. So turn 1 on Mission 3A is the same time as turn 1 on Mission 3B. But Mission 3A will be Ironspitta and his attack underground, and 3B will be Klawslasha and his attack above ground. Both at the links in the video description below. And of course, if you're not a Vault member, you're still free to watch 3B. You can get it, access for free for 7 days, and get access to all the videos, Mission 1B and 2B as well, and all the other thousands of battle reports, painting tutorials, and everything else that's in there. And we hope that you'll stick around. Most people do, because they end up really liking all the extra content that we put up there. And it helps support us in making these videos, these studios, and everything else. Thanks for watching. Enjoy the rest of the narrative campaign, and happy wargaming.